Air travel used to buzz with excitement. Back then, airports served up experiences that would shock today's hurried travelers. These changes reveal how our culture and technology evolved over decades. Ready to discover what vanished from terminals? Security, paranoia, and budget squeezing transformed these travel hubs beyond recognition. The quirky attractions and human touches that made each airport unique? Gone. These disappearing features tell a fascinating story about how flying changed from luxury to necessity. Think of airports like restaurants that gradually removed the most interesting items from their menus until only the basics remained. The result? Efficient but forgettable experiences. There was a time when airports weren't just transit points, they were destinations. Families, couples, and aviation enthusiasts flocked to open-air observation decks to marvel at the beauty of flight. You didn't need a ticket or a boarding pass, just a sense of wonder. From London Heathrow's iconic rooftop terrace to Dusseldorf's expansive viewing platform with vintage aircraft on display, these decks were buzzing with life. Children pressed their noses against glass panels, waving to departing planes, while parents snapped Polaroids with airliners in the background. Even Miami International once boasted a long pedestrian bridge leading directly to a terminal, topped with a hotel, an architectural beacon of the jet age. This was an era when airports embraced visitors, not just travelers, when the roar of engines and the shimmer of fuselages brought people together. Today, tightened security and restricted access have turned these open spaces into memories, and while it may be safer, something irreplaceable was lost: the romance of flight before takeoff ever began. There was a time when stepping off a plane didn't mean navigating kiosks, waiting in line, or endlessly tapping through an app. Business travelers, especially in the 1960s and 70s, could simply walk into the terminal and find courtesy. Cars waiting, often just steps away from the gate. These airport-based fleets offered low-cost rentals or even free loaners, eliminating the red tape. No contracts, no queues, just keys and a full tank. This wasn't just about convenience. It was part of an era when airports genuinely tried to ease the journey rather than complicate it. But as the decades wore on, efficiency shifted toward automation. Apps and ride shares now dominate the curbside. Tap a screen, wait for your Prius, and hope your driver knows the way. While ride-hailing has its perks, it's hard not to miss the old-school simplicity of grabbing a set of keys and hitting the road. The courtesy car era may be gone, but its legacy lives on in the stories of those who remember traveling without an app in hand. Once upon a time, airports weren't just places to catch flights. They were destinations in themselves. Families dressed in Sunday best would gather at sprawling observation decks, not to board planes, but to watch them take off. These terraces, perched atop terminals in London, Tokyo, and Miami, offered panoramic views and a dose of aviation magic. Before security barriers dominated airports, these open spaces blurred the line between traveler and spectator. In those days, convenience meant something entirely different. Need a car? Just walk out and grab a courtesy vehicle. No apps, no fingerprint scans, just a key and a smile. The idea that airports once loaned cars without a corporate maze of contracts feels almost absurd now. But it was real, a fleeting moment in time when customer experience trumped corporate strategy. Back inside the terminal, shine stands symbolized another era, one where dressing sharp was the norm even at 30,000 feet. Business travelers perched atop elevated chairs while their shoes were polished to perfection. These stands whispered of a time when travel was ritual, not routine, and if you had time to kill, you didn't scroll. You dropped a coin into a television bolted to your seat. Coin-operated TV chairs promised 30 minutes of grainy programming. In exchange for your change, no remote, no rewind, just whatever happened to be airing. A pre-digital novelty that now feels charmingly. There was a time when traveling by air wasn't just a means of transportation, it was a performance. Men in tailored suits and polished leather shoes filled terminals, and airports met them with stations tailored to their image. Shoe shine stands were once common fixtures at major hubs, offering quick professional care for business travelers who treated each trip like a boardroom audition. Perched high in oversized chairs, passengers would leaf through the paper or sip coffee while a skilled shiner brought scuffed footwear back to life. These moments weren't just about grooming, they were rituals of status, of preparation, of pride. In the clatter of a brush and the smell of polish, there was an unspoken message. Appearance mattered. But today, the polished traveler has been replaced by sneakers, backpacks, and TSA-friendly attire. The shine stations remain in a few nostalgic corners, relics of a time when dressing well was part of the journey, not just the destination. Once upon a time, grabbing a baggage cart at the airport didn't require a credit card swipe or digging through your wallet for exact change. They were simply there, waiting for you like a silent helper, ready to ease the load of heavy bags and overpacked suitcases. It was a gesture of goodwill, a quiet nod from airports that said, "We know travel is hard enough." These chrome chariots glided through terminals without question or coin, helping families, solo travelers, and business people alike navigate sprawling concourses. There was no fine print, no rental fees, just service for the sake of service. But that kind of hospitality has slowly rolled out of sight. Today, free carts are rarer than on-time departures. You'll more likely find them locked behind paywalls or branded by banks and sponsors. It's a shift from convenience to monetization. And one more reminder that air travel has become less about easing the journey and more about squeezing value from every step. They weren't flashy, but they were free. And in a world of endless surcharges, that made them special. There was a time when stepping onto an airplane felt like an event. Before the age of jet bridges and seamless terminals, passengers would walk across the open tarmac, often battling wind, rain, or blazing sun, just to reach a set of rolling metal stairs. Climbing those steps wasn't just a logistical necessity. It was a moment of anticipation and connection. You saw the size of the aircraft up close, heard the engines roar, and felt the atmosphere of travel all around you. Families waved from behind fences, and travelers paused halfway up the stairs to glance back one last time. This open-air boarding process connected people to the physical reality of flight in a way that today's air-conditioned tunnels never will. While jetways are certainly more efficient and comfortable, something undeniably human was lost when airports moved indoors. Today, the scene belongs mostly to memories and old photographs, quietly retired in the name of progress. There was a time when airports resembled smoky jazz lounges, more than high-security transit hubs. In this hazy, golden age of travel, smoking wasn't just permitted, it was everywhere. Travelers lit up in check-in lines, lounged in departure, gates with cigarettes in hand, and exhaled plumes of smoke at 35,000 feet like it was part of the in-flight service. Ashtrays were built into armrests, seat backs, and bathroom walls, making them as standard as seatbelts. Even flight attendants were expected to cater to smokers, sometimes offering lighters mid-flight with a smile. Dedicated smoking lounges arrived later as a compromise, but by then, health concerns were impossible to ignore. Eventually, governments grounded the smoke for good. Today's travelers can hardly imagine a world where nicotine clouds floated through terminal halls. But for decades, that was the norm.